It's Grace Redman. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. I'm so excited about our guest today. Our guest today is Craig Domann. Craig is a seasoned NFL agent who has negotiated over $1 billion in contracts for over 100 NFL draft picks and over 300 NFL players. With more than 30 years of experience guiding elite athletes and coaches, Craig has reverse engineered the mindset that drives the best to greatness. Whether you're an athlete aiming to dominate, an entrepreneur seeking to scale, or anyone striving for personal growth, his pro mindset method offers a proven blueprint for success. This isn't just theory. These are the same actionable tools and strategies that have powered NFL stars and top performers to the pinnacle of their careers. Today, Craig will help us step into the mindset of pros. Help me welcome Craig to the show today. Hi, Craig.
Grace, thank you so much for the intro.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining us. I love geeking out with you on, mindset and going from, great to excellent. So we're going to have an incredible talk today.
Absolutely.
So something that you talk about is the pocket voice in your book. You talk about the pocket voice. Can you share with us what that is?
Absolutely. So we have multiple stories. One of them is the one we tell people, but
Mm.
that's not our real story. Our real story is the pocket voice in our pocket, metaphorically, that tells us who we are. And the more important the situation, the more like let's say it's a dream job interview or it's a trial for an athletic team, something of that nature. That's when the pocket voice tells you who you are. And the pocket voice, you have to be really careful because the pocket voice is authentic. Sometimes it's negative. More often than not, it's negative. But it's like you're always listening to your pocket voice. So you need to be very mindful of how you equip and script your pocket voice so that it feeds you wonderful information, positive information in the biggest moments.
Why is our pocket voice typically negative?
Because we have a negative bias. Um, as a human, we have 4 things we all struggle with. This is a universal pattern of thinking that we all have. We don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, we don't feel good enough, and we don't feel worthy. And in one of those areas, it doesn't matter what day it is and how successful you've been, you can find yourself thinking like, well, my dad told me this, my last employer told me that, my coach told me this, my teacher told me that. And it's like, you know, it it could be so simple as even going back to the 3rd grade, you raised your hand and you had the right answer. And the teacher didn't call on you. And the person they called on got it wrong. And the teacher tells the class the answer, and it was the answer that you had, but you don't feel seen or heard in that situation.
So powerful.
And so you carry that with you. And so we're very good. One thing humans are very good at is carrying the torch of our negative past, of our failures, our disappointments, our embarrassments, our rejections, our unfairness, all those things. We never forget them. We want to keep them.
That's so true. Why is that? Why do we wanna hold on? Because I've experienced this. Like, I could have someone give me some great feedback and someone give me not so great feedback. I focus on the not so great feedback.
Well, think about the way it works in the school system. We take a test, and the thing that's accentuated is the 5 we missed, not the 25 we got right. In sports, like especially in football and basketball and some of the team sports, the coaches have debriefings and they review the game film from the previous competition. They focus on all the wrong plays. They all focus on all the bad plays. They focus on all the mistakes. They
Nice.
focus on the mental errors. They don't focus on, hey guys, we really did this wonderful. Let's do this again. No, they just assume you got it. Let's clean this up. Let's do this differently. And so our culture and even the way we communicate is has a negative bias to it.
That's powerful, very powerful. And I was just chatting, with a colleague, and we were talking about what you focus on, you get more of. So it sounds like when we're focusing on, the gaps, we stay in those gaps. So what I'm hearing you say is like focus on what we did right.
Highlight tapes, catch your kids doing something well. Unfortunately, as a parent, especially for like younger kids, they tell them, "Hey, don't stick your finger in the light socket. Don't touch the hot stove." You don't like reinforce the positive things they do. Like, "Hey, that was really good management of your emotions. That was really nice of you to be respectful and not interrupt." We don't say those kind of things,
You're right. We
right?
focus on what's not working.
We focus on the negative.
And so now, first I want to ask you, how did you always aspire to become an NFL agent? Did you fall into it? Like, how did that come about?
Great question. So I played college football, but unlike my boys who played in like 95 college football games at the Division 1 level, I played football for 3 years and played in 0 games. I never got in the game. I was the bench warmer. Never. And so I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel good enough. I felt all those inadequacies. And so when I got out of college, I went into becoming a CPA, working in a cube, doing tax accounting, and it was a snoozer for me. It was not a good fit for me. I need to be with people, talk to people, help people, coach people, problem solve, not be, like a robot. And so the most fun for me during those couple years was playing basketball at lunch, playing on the company softball team after work, and playing golf on Saturday mornings with my buddies. It wasn't the work, but we had a professional golfer as a client, and I had an opportunity to meet his agent, and his
Mm,
agent handled all his affairs, and I'm like, "That's what I wanna do."
I love that.
So I went to law school and with the pursuit of, I'm gonna go be a sports attorney and represent people in their sports careers, and I dabbled it with some golfers and some basketball players in different sports, but my passion and my opportunity was in football, and that's what I played was football, and I had 7 coaches from my college team go on to the NFL, and I had around 6 of my former teammates go on to the NFL.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so it's super dope that I recognized after a couple years that I needed to be laser focused and not try to be everything to everybody.
Mm,
It just so happened that football was the avenue that made the most sense.
I love that because they do talk about, in business niche, what is your niche? So I love how you said it had to be laser focused and you landed, in the NFL. And you've negotiated, billions of dollars in contracts and just very incredible. What would you and you don't have to give names. What was one of the most challenging negotiations? And, your m how did your mental performance and your mindset get you to close the deal?
I think I realized after took me about I'm a slow learner. It took me like 5, 6 years to figure this out. Your biggest negotiation is always with the player, your client. It's not with the team.
Mm.
Okay? Because these magic words, I think it's like 5 words. Can you get me more? That is the response from your client. You do a $43 million deal and you call your guy up and you say, "Hey, bro, we're done, man. We got it. We were trying to get like $600,000 more. We got it. The deal's done. All he's got to do is walk into the facility, sign the contract, and he's got, 8-figure guarantee and so on and so forth." And instead of saying, "Hey, Mr. Doman, I really appreciate it. Craig, you're so awesome." No, no, no. "Hey, can you get me more?" Like, dude, what are you thinking? Come on.
In my staffing business, that's when I negotiate, the offers that always come back, "Can you get me more?" That's why I'm laughing.
I mean, I could write a book on can you give me more? And then I'd say the other thing would be the other tough negotiation is when the organization does not see your client in the same light that your player sees himself.
Mm,
And that's never fun because every one of us has an idea what our worth is
yes.
and what our value is and how do we fit into the locker room? How do we fit into the pay scale, even across an industry like the NFL? And when an organization, has rights and has control and ownership over a player, and maybe you only have an opportunity to negotiate with that particular team at the time until they get to a different phase in their career, it is humbling because the team sees your player like they see your player. They see him every day. They see his energy, they see his effort, they see his attitude in the locker room, in the weight room, on the practice field, in the team hotel, all those different locations. I don't. So when I discover that they don't see my client the way that I see my client or my client sees himself, now my negotiation strategy changes because now I have to work on my client to help him see what the team sees. I'm not trying to get him less money, but if you're trying to broker a deal, you got to have a meeting of the minds. You can't have a meeting of the minds if one's up here and one's down there.
That's not an easy, task when, you like you said, you have someone who believes sees themselves a certain way. And so how do you what type of, um techniques do you use to get them to meet you, in the middle?
You really don't have a technique and it's case by case, player by player. But if you're in that situation, number one, you have to seek to understand how the team really sees your client. And after you understand that, that kind of gives you the clues on how you can communicate to your client. So,
Mm,
like, for example, I had a client one time who had big dreams, wanted to make big money. He was a very talented young man. And I flew down to the team headquarters and met with the general manager, and the conversation was going very well. But he said, "Hey, I want to bring the head coach in to be a party to this negotiation, and he has something he'd like to share with you." And my thing is, anytime you're negotiating money, you never talk about money because that's a great way to not get as much money. So you really want to talk about what value do you see in my client? What vision do you have for him in the future of the organization? So when the head coach came in, I said, "Hey, how do you see my client moving forward? How does he fit in to your program? How does he fit into your scheme? How does he fit into your leadership?" Those kind of questions. He said, "First of all, Craig," he says, "I got to learn to trust a 729er, and I don't trust a 729er." And I said, "Coach, I have no idea what a 729er is." He goes, "Well, let me explain. When you have a whole team meeting with like 53 guys in the active roster and all the guys on the practice squad at 7:30 in the morning, and everybody else is there, but your guy has to hit every green light. If he hits one red light, he's going to show up late until he learns that he can show up, until he learns he can show up on time.
mm,
I've got no future for your client."
mm,
So
thank
when I had a dinner later that night with my client, I shared that story and he goes, "Oh yeah, sometimes I'm late." You know what? He didn't bring forth that information ahead of time. But after the team told me what they told me, I was able to use that information
Mhm.
to help him understand this is an important thing for the organization. And you're not going to get top dollar when the head coach doesn't trust you.
Mm. Well, I love how you bring up the word of trust. That's so important, and and you brought up also, like, work ethic, and you talked about, a talent. Do you think that work ethic mindset trumps talent sometimes?
I think mindset is the game changer. It's the difference maker. It's the reason why guys build careers.
Mm,
Talent gets them in the door.
mhm,
Mindset builds a career. And so the one thing that about the NFL is that almost all of them have unbelievable God-given ability. These guys are freaks of nature. So now we have that baseline. How do they show up? How do they, I mean, what are their instincts? What's their preparation? What are their, all the different components of a pro mindset framework come into play to determine whether you have a great mindset, a winning mindset, a mindset that can lead you to greatness or lead you out the door because someone else has it and they're going to, the NFL is a replacement business. You don't, it's not, um, you don't get tenure in the NFL. You don't just show up and make the team and hang out for 10 or 15 years. You could be there 10 or 15 minutes. And if you don't have the right mindset, somebody that does will replace you with someone that does.
So talk to us about the mindset, and then I wanna ask you about the invincible performance bubble. But the pro mindset, what takes you from great to peak performance to being the GOAT?
Okay. So let me put on your seatbelt just for a second.
I'm ready.
All right. So here's what pro mindset is about. Number one, you have a story. I have a story. Everybody watching and listening has a story. And our stories are past of, successes and failures. But we remember, we focus on the negative bias. So a lot of people, it's like the identity iceberg. We see what we see, we hear what we hear, but we don't see below the surface.
Yes, the unconscious.
The Titanic was sunk by an iceberg because the commander could not see what was below the surface.
Mhm.
He didn't have the technology that they have today. So, as an individual, we all have varying degrees of icebergs below the surface. And unless you rewrite your story, you're not defined by the worst thing that's ever happened to you, or the worst thing you've ever done, or the worst unfairness you've ever faced, or the worst, or your most embarrassing moment. You're not defined by those unless you are. But unless you clean that up, you are.
That's
What
true.
what that teacher told you, what that father told you, what that coach told you, what that friend told you. And your friend might have been half drunk. Your friend might have been joking. The teacher might have been just having a bad day. Your parents might have been frustrated about work and it had nothing to do with you, but they said something in a hot mess moment and you believe in it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and then you live the rest of your life based on that untruth. It's
That,
crazy.
that's your iceberg's, identity. So, with respect to pro mindset, the first thing we have to do is rescript your pocket voice. We have to rewrite certain chapters of your story. We have to understand and realize and be aware that the only thing we remember are things that had an emotional charge.
Mhm.
So we have to reframe the emotion. We have to learn a lesson. All that's cleanup work. If we don't do that, it doesn't matter. You can have the best systems, you could be the hardest worker, you could be the most dedicated, but when you're in that big moment where this is money time, I mean, you're like,
Money.
this is the biggest sales opportunity of your career if you're a salesperson. You say the wrong thing. You respond unconfidently. You
Mhm.
knew the answer, but you couldn't speak the answer in that moment because of your story. And then so number one is rewrite your story. If you don't write your story, Grace, your tomorrow and your future is going to be consistent with your story.
Yep.
So if your story tomorrow is the same as it is today, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. If
It's an
you want something better, you want a brighter future. If you want to have more prosperity, if you want to have more if you want to have more enriched relationships, if you want to be respected more, you have to rewrite your story.
yes. Yes, so
Then
powerful.
then we moved into elevated systems. Everybody's got systems. All of us do. Daily habits.
Mhm.
Professional athletes have systems. Coaches have systems. All organizations have systems. Some people call it culture. Some
Mm.
people call it other things, but it's still there. I have about 5 Ps that define your systems. It's how you prepare, it's your preparation, it's your practice, it's your pit crew, it's your people, it's your circle of influence, it's your board of directors, it's your inner circle, it's your preview, your previews. We have
What are
trailers
previews?
we have trailers for movies, so you can kinda see what it's about before you spend the money to go watch it or the time. A lot of people call it visualization and imagery,
I love that.
but it's a preview.
Mm,
You can't see in your mind you doing what you aspire to do, odds are you probably won't.
mm.
And I
Yeah.
can tell you hundreds and hundreds of stories of my clients that visualized themselves doing something and then it showed up on game day.
Can you share with us, again, you don't have to give us names, but maybe like a great moment where, the athlete just visualized it to prepare and it happened?
Well, one of my sons made it to the NFL. He's been in the NFL for 3 years. He's between jobs. He's in the UFL at this very day with the aspiration of getting back in the NFL. And my other son was, starting quarterback for Louisville at Fenway Park at a college bowl game, and my wife and I, Teddy, were in the stands freezing our butts off with 30 other thousand people, and nothing was going on. We hadn't scored yet, nothing was going on, and we were both getting our phones were getting blown up saying, "Hey, congrats, that's awesome." You know, we're like, what's going on?" Well, we didn't remember that our other son was playing for the Colts against the Vikings on national TV, and he scored a touchdown on a block punt. And so later that night, I call him up, say, "Hey, bro, hey, great job. How'd it go down?" He said, "Just like I saw it in my mind." He said, "On Wednesday, they installed a punt block." He said he visualized him being the guy. And he said it happened just like he saw it. And so I've had so many, that happened to be my son, but I've had so many clients say the same thing. If you really want to be great, you have to see yourself in your own mind doing what you want to be great at before you show up in the boardroom, before you show up in the sales meeting, before you show up on the football field, the basketball court, or wherever your stage is.
I'm a big believer in that. And I also believe, like, if you visualize it, it's for a reason. It's there because it is your future. And oftentimes I feel like we sabotage ourselves because we don't believe what we're seeing, like what we're visualizing. We don't believe in the dream. And so that's how we sabotage ourselves. And what I wanted to ask, working with all these, high performers, is there a common theme? Like, is there a common limiting belief that you see with high performers, high achievers, these athletes?
They are just like you and me. They have fears, they have doubts. They've had people tell them things, have had things happen to them that they have held on to. Um, a lot of times they don't realize, like, the second component of the pro mindset model, first one's rewriting your story, the second one's elevating your standards and your state and your systems. A lot of them don't realize and have the awareness that they're not working hard. I've never met a player that in his mind thought he wasn't working hard. Think about that for a second. How many employees does an organization have that are slacking? They're not really working that hard. They're showing up late. They're leaving early, taking extra long lunch.
Most, a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, based on my
Project
experience.
project deadlines today. They ask for an extension for tomorrow. In their minds, they're working hard,
That's so true.
right?
And I've seen it where someone's telling me I'm working so hard, and I'm like, "Are you really? That's not what I see."
Yeah. So, with respect, going back to the pro mindset model, everybody's got their systems, and the last one of pro mindset after your preview is your process, and that's kind of like encompasses everything: your sleep, your morning schedule, your nutrition and diet. Somebody says they want to lose weight, and they get dessert every time you go out to dinner with them. Okay, so that's a poor process, and so there has to be an alignment with your systems and your dream. Otherwise, you're not going to end up where you want to end up. It's no different than typing in the wrong address for a GPS. You type in the wrong address, you probably won't end up where you were hoping to end up. And so you have to have some accuracy about your address on a GPS, but you also have to have some accuracy about your systems to get you where you want to go. And then that's what you do. But more important than what you do is how you do what you do. And that's your standards.
So talk to us a little bit more about that, how you do what you do, your standards. What does that mean?
It means that most of us play a tug of war with the person that is controlling our career, controlling our environment. If their expectation for us is to do blank, we are right here wondering, is that good enough? Are they even going to notice it's different? And we're playing tug of war. So if they say, hey, we're meeting tomorrow at 10, I want you to be there 5 minutes early. You're there 3 minutes early and hoping that they don't notice the difference between being there at 5 and 3. So the concept that works every single time is to have an elevated standard. Have
Mhm,
a higher standard than the people that you have to answer to.
mhm,
Coach, the teacher, the boss, the partner, whoever it may be. So even if you want to change your relationship and change the momentum of your relationship with your partner, your life partner, you elevate your standards, it changes.
that's
It
so true.
right? You treat them with a little bit more respect, show a little bit more love, be a little bit more on time, think of them first instead of second or not at all of a sudden things change.
You're right. And so if I'm supposed to be there at noon, get there at 11:50.
And if you're late at 11:55, you're still early. If
Yes.
if they say, "Hey, your, deadline for getting this done today is 5 o'clock," you throw it on their desk or send them an email at 4 o'clock.
Mhm,
You got time for them to take a peek at it and
mhm,
hit you back and go, "Hey, I think that's beautiful what you just did, Grace, but you missed the point on this one part. Do you mind redoing it?" But all of a sudden, it's just a small thing. You're able to kill it because you were actually ahead of schedule.
mhm.
So, when you think about preparation, do
Big
you
one.
do you have unconscious competence? I call it the blacked out drunk person in college. Yeah, they're blacked out. They drank too much at a
Mhm,
party, and somebody shakes them and says, "Hey, what's your middle name?" They know their middle name every time. They may not know where they're at. They may not know what they drank. They may not know who they're with, but they will always know their name. When you prepare, you need to prepare with a standard of unconscious competence that you know it so well, you don't have to think about it. And one
mhm.
other silly example, at night,
True.
we're walking from our bedroom to our bathroom at night. Can't see anything.
Mhm.
I promise you, if you need to turn the light on, you know where the light switch is. Every time, you know where that light switch is. If you prepare at a standard that's like that, you 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 don't get the almost did a great job. You kill it.
Yes. Yes. And preparation, you're right. It's huge. It really is. And s going the extra mile, doing what other people aren't going to do, showing up, continuing to show up. I like how you're talking about preparation because, when I had Anthony Trucks on, and I know you recently had him on, I asked him about imposter syndrome, and he said the same thing you are. He said, "If you're prepared, there's no imposter syndrome." What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Anthony's better looking than I am. He's faster. He's stronger. He's smarter. So why would I
That's wrong.
disagree? I'm gonna guarantee
I
you,
know.
when Anthony comes out to visit me every summer, I am not gonna say anything that contradicts what he said.
I didn't mean it like that. Well, now let's go back to your thoughts on, because there's 2 camps on imposter syndrome. There really are. And I do believe if you're prepared, but I still also believe that even when you're prepared, that imposter syndrome can still come up.
Here's how I look at imposter syndrome. It doesn't exist when you dedicate yourself to your systems at a high standard because you are more than prepared. You have practiced what your craft is. You've practiced it in game-like situations. So in sports, the weather, game intensity, if it's a speech you're making or presentation you're making, you just don't like put it together and show up at the office or at the boardroom or the living room or the wherever the coffee shop, wherever it might be. No, you actually do the presentation and work out the kinks before you show up.
Yes.
And then when it comes to visualization and previews, you have seen yourself be successful under all scenarios. Some you have a technical difficulty, still make it work. The person that you are presenting to is interrupted. It's
Mm,
you just go with the flow.
mhm,
It
mhm.
doesn't, hey, your PowerPoint doesn't work at all. You have a paper copy just in case. You're like the Boy Scout that it doesn't matter
Right.
what could go wrong, you're good. So you're not an imposter when you've earned it. I think where people fail is when they don't feel worthy of success.
There it is.
They feel like an imposter because they don't deserve it. They use too many cheat codes and or they use chat and they don't even know what their presentation says. And they didn't do any homework or any diligence on their prospect. And so when they ask a question that would normally come from somebody like that, they're surprised.
Mm,
Where if they would have done the due diligence, there's no surprise. You're anticipating, you want them to ask you that question.
mhm,
You
mhm.
want them to give you that objection because you're ready for it.
I love this because you're just giving me a whole new, perspective on imposter syndrome. And you're right. When I know my worth and I'm confident, and even if I slip up and I know my worth, that you're right. The imposter syndrome really it really isn't there because I know who I am and I'm prepared. So I love that. And I have a new perspective on it because I love, what you just shared. Because if I have the preview and I'm prepared and I know my worth, that's there's no question.
The only person that can make you feel like an imposter is you.
That's true.
And
That's true.
the pocket voice can be the messenger that helps you feel like an imposter. But if
Yes.
you have rewritten your story and you've done all the work and you're authentic with yourself,
Mm.
your pocket voice will not even introduce the concept
Oof.
because there's no reason to.
That's so powerful. That's well, I like you said, if we done the work in what the reframe, done the work in, recreating the story.
Done the work in the actual work as well, whatever the venture is, whether it's a
Mhm.
sales opportunity, a speaking opportunity, a consulting opportunity, or a performance opportunity.
Taking the action and being committed and consistent and having those high standards. I love the word preview because usually I say visualization, but like I love the word preview because it feels like this is just a preview of what's to come. So talk to us about the invincible performance bubble.
Okay. So the third leg of pro mindset is winning on stage.
Mm,
You've rewritten your story, you've elevated your standards, and you've executed your systems. Now you're on your stage. And a stage could be the boardroom, could be a real stage,
mhm.
could be a phone call, could be an email, could be a text, could be a conversation in the hall at the water fountain. The question is, are you going to show up and really bring everything you got to that stage? So all those P's, the preparation, are you bringing it with you? Which allows you to have confidence and belief in what you do and who you are. Belief in who you are and confidence in what you do.
Yes.
And the story you're bringing, You're bringing the good story.
Mhm.
You're not bringing the poor me story.
I love that, and it's fun. This is fun because it's like I don't know we've talked about this when I joined you. It's like I play life as a game with the exploration and the experimenting, and how fun is it to really preview the what I want as opposed to the what if bad scenario. That's not fun.
That's not fun.
I
So
like the preview.
so to get to your to answer your question about performance bubble, when you show up fully you and you're fully present, meaning you're not thinking about what you're gonna do after. You're
Mhm,
not thinking about what you did the last time. You're fully in the moment, and you have your emotional regulation game going on, meaning that when you get a curveball, when, like an ex shows up at an event that you didn't expect your ex to show up, or hey, your boss shows up and didn't give you a heads up that they were going to show up, and that makes you feel very uncomfortable because you feel like you're being judged and evaluated when you just wanted to do a sales presentation or whatever it may be. So what engulfs your showing up, your presence, and your regulation is a concept called your invincible peak performance bubble. It's a performance bubble, but it allows you, if you use it right, to have peak performance. And if you have the right headspace, it's invincible,
I love
meaning it
that.
can't be corrupted. And so, what it is everything that serves you and your best interests gets to come in: confidence, belief, your preparation, your practice, your preview, your pit crew, your process, all gets to come in. Your new story gets to come in. What doesn't get to come in? Fears, doubts, past failures, past experiences, potential outcomes. Like, hey, if I win this, I'm going to make a lot of money if I close this deal. I'm going to get a lot of fame if I win this game. All those kind of things do not serve your best interest. So those are on the outside. So it's really a invincible peak performance bubble is a series of boundaries.
Mm,
Keep the things out that need to be out, and a group of anchors for the things that serve you. And then when you're in the moment, which is what really defines us, how many times have you shown up just totally unprepared for an opportunity? Very seldom. Everybody prepares to some level, but not everybody can handle the adversity that props up in the middle of the presentation, the middle of the game, the middle of the show, the middle of the speech. And when you have excellent emotional regulation, you can. Somebody can squawk at you from the back of the crowd. You can have technical difficulties, all those little hiccups that can pop up, and you can gracefully
mhm.
go with the flow and still get the deal if it's meant to be,
Yes.
because you're not thrown off your game.
I love that. So managing your state is really number 1. And the invincible performance bubble I'm hearing you say is, do you imagine like a bubble around you?
You
And
step into a headspace. I mean, you
okay.
literally embody it.
And I heard you say, the confidence, the preparation, the new story, and so just anchor it to yourself. And you're right. I'm like managing our state is not only incredible for athletes and business, but for us in life as well.
No,
So
no.
I love that. I want to start imagining my invincible performance bubble.
Think about being at a beautiful restaurant with someone and your ex walks in. Fortunately, I don't have an ex, but let's just pretend I did. Is that going to throw off my evening? And the maitre d' seats them at the table next to me. And we've already ordered and our food's on the way, so we can't leave. So the question is, can you like turn lemons into lemonade?
Yes, powerful. That's powerful.
Okay. Because I really think peak performers Yes, they rewrite their story. Yes, they've got great systems. Yes, they do all the prep and practice all this stuff. Yes, they have unbelievably high standards, but they're different when it comes to regulating their emotions.
Well, it's that's a superpower. I remember I used to have a screensaver on my phone, and calm is a superpower, and it really is, and when we can manage our state, and I so appreciate you sharing this. Uh, like you just said, that is something that the peak performers have that other people don't have. They know how to manage their state in all types of situations.
Especially in sports. It's a gotta get it moment. It's at the end of the game. You make the play, you might win the game. You might be a champion. You don't make the play, people forget who even played in the game. You even played in the game because you didn't win. Everybody remembers the winners of championship games. And it's like in that play, in that moment that may not unfold exactly the way you were hoping, can you still make the play? And most players can't.
Mm, because is it because they don't have the performance bubble?
I don't think honestly, I think it's because they can't make adjustments in the in mid play, mid stride, mid sentence. They they hope and cross their fingers and toes that it's gonna be the way they were hoping it would be, and they've earned it and worked on it, they've deserved it, all these things, but then the curveball comes, throws them off their path.
Mm.
The great ones, it doesn't throw them off their path.
And the great ones is because they know how to manage their state.
Bingo.
Ah, that's huge. That's huge. That's so powerful. How do you think faith has a lot to do with being able to manage your state?
I think faith, you said?
Yes. Like
I
having to
think
have faith.
I think faith is critical in your story,
Mm,
in your identity. Grace, you're one of a kind. There's never been another person ever like you, and there will never be another one like you. And when you can like embrace and embody your specialness that God created you to be,
mm.
there's a faith component there,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
right? And when you're trying to figure out your story, if you don't have faith, you're going to struggle. You can only go your identity and your story can only be written to a certain point, and then you need that purpose and calling and your why and why God created you and brought you to this planet for this time and place with the parents that you were born to and with the talents and the
Mhm.
dreams that you have. Most people, if they would be truthful, their dreams have always been there.
It's true.
They don't remember when it wasn't. Like, people don't wake up at 23 and 43 and so on and so forth and go, "Oh, this is my dream." No, this is a goal that you wanna make more money or you wanna, you know, change it up. No, your dreams were there from the beginning,
You're so right.
okay? And most people quit on their dreams.
Yeah, you're so right. Why do we quit on our dreams?
I think, there's a very simple concept. We have a dream and we have our circumstances, and they never aligned
Mm,
unless you've reached your dream.
mm,
So when there's an unalignment between what your dream is and where you're at currently, something has to give. So it's either that you up level who you are so
mhm.
that you can attract that dream and accomplish that dream and become whatever that is, or you have to quit. And most people don't realize the change and the movement they need to make is not in quitting the dream, but actually living a life that's in alignment with the dream
Mm, so
because the
beautiful.
dream will happen.
Yes, when we align and take the action and we believe and we change the stories. And this has been amazing, Craig. Thank you so much. So good. What is one last piece of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Since we talked about faith and since we were talking about dreams, I encourage everybody to not quit on their dreams
Mm.
and to um, you only get to live on this planet one time, and you get one swing at this thing called life. When you're in that situation where you might be on your deathbed and you're reflecting back, you want no regrets. And the way you have no regrets is you go all in on your dreams. It's almost like poker. I'm going all in. If-
Mm,
And you're not a failure if you don't get it. You're not a failure if it doesn't happen. You're a failure if you quit.
yes. Oh, that's powerful. Thank you. As you know, sometimes you feel like you just want to quit. And so right there, just keep going. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I can be with here with you all day, Craig. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and please tell our audience where they can find you.
Yes, you can check me out on my website, Craig Domann, Domann. It's in the show notes and whatnot, .com. You can check out my book, Pro Mindset. You can explore my coaching. Um, I've got coaching and workshops, and you can reach me by email as well on the website.
And we'll share all of those in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here with me, Craig. And thank you, those who are watching and listening. Please share, like, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you amazing guests like Craig. Until next time, we wish you all the best. Hey, love, thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.